Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Shop with Russ. I hope y'all are all excited tonight, excited as I am. We got Ken Moon on tonight, and he's going to be discussing the resin that he uses, which is Total Boat. And I've been looking forward to this for a while because I have finally finished my bathroom, so I'm going to be back out here in the shop. First thing I got to do is clean my shop before I can even do anything. And once I get it cleaned, I'm going to start back into making some projects. And one of the projects that I've been wanting to do for quite some time is playing around with some resin. So Ken Moon is going to answer a lot of my questions tonight. But before we go any further, let me talk about my sponsors. And they are Devobal Technologies. For web design, development, and hosting, visit devobal.com. FastCap, innovative products for the professional woodworker. Go to fastcap.com. Rockler, 60 years in woodworking. Create with confidence. Visit rockler.com. Bearwood Supply Company, your best choice for hard-to-find woodworking supplies. Go to bearwood.com. Clean Core, the sanding specialist. Woodworkingshop.com. Seiko, the scroll saw specialist. Seiko.com. And Scrollnado. Dust collection for your scroll saw, and you can find them on Amazon. So let's get busy and jiggy with it. And Paul, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at Paul's Messy Workshop on YouTube, on Instagram, here on Saturday nights. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Al.
I am Al Forte, Odessa Woodworking and Maker Shop. I stream on Twitch at Twitch Kilroy79763. I've been on YouTube for a while also, have some videos. Been doing some electronics lectures lately and some maker stuff. But you can find me anywhere, probably, as Kilroy79763. Great to be here. And I got some questions for you too, Moon Pie Creations, dude.
Somebody left.
Cool. Yeah, Jim took off again. Dixon.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be here. My name is Dixon Hoffman. You can find me at hoffmansignsandDecals.com and on Facebook.
Chris.
Hey gang, Chris here from the Old Cranky Workshop. You find me YouTube and Facebook, and now on the sunny shores of Sunshine State of Florida. So watch for some videos. I'm a semi-retired gentleman now. Gentleman might be a bit stretch, but semi-retired. So some projects are coming up, and I'm looking forward to get started again.
Cool. Glad to have you in Florida. And Jim tapped out again. I don't know what Jim's having problems.
Oh, and my shop got delivered today. Yay!
Oh, cool.
Facebook.
What? You shipped everything of your stuff in pods, right?
Yeah, we had 3 pods. One came today. The other one is later next week. And we have another one back at the house being loaded. We have a friend managing that end for us.
Great.
But all the priority stuff is in the first pod.
All right. So I don't see Jim, so I'm not quite sure.
Well, that's Jim Bashir's from Driveway Workshop.
Yeah, he dropped out again. I don't know what happened to him. But anyway, so let's go ahead and go to Ken. How you doing, Ken?
Hey, doing well. As you said, my name is Ken Moon. I'm from Moon Pie Creations. You can find me over on Instagram and on Facebook and YouTube as Moon Pie Creations. So I'm ready for this little quick reaction, questions coming at me and answer session here.
Cool. Before we get into that part, though, you've had a lot of stuff going on in your life. First, you finally got your house built and moved in, right?
Yep, it is. It is pretty much complete, except for what Leanne tells me I got to do. So,
yeah. Well, that's like my bathroom. I'm complete, except for my wife might have me hang some towel bars and then maybe a mural or a big picture or something like that. But and then on top of that, you not only got a house built, you got married.
I did. August 12th. I got married August 12th here at the house. So it was pretty nice. We did a Zoom wedding for people who couldn't make it in, and then we had about 30 people here.
Yep, I watched it. Trust me.
Yeah, it was it was a culmination to a whirlwind love affair. I like to say she's watching now, so I gotta be good.
No, I watched it. It was really cool. I enjoyed watching it. So, and congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so let me. Leanne's out in watching us on Facebook, by the way. So be careful what you say.
Oh,
And I'm here again.
Yep, and we have my trusty sidekick, my grandson Gage.
welcome back, Gage.
Yep. Let me go through real quick. We have Donna Presley, Donna's Wood Art, Leonard Davis, Michelle Marcoux, Aussie Man.
I remember Austin.
Yeah, Aussie Man's out there. Cameron, my son, is out there watching in the chat. He is,
Hi,
hey all.
Cameron.
Hi, Cameron. Leonard Davis, Lady Frenzy Wicked Truth is over on Twitch watching us.
Yep.
Jim Bashirs has reported that he's rebooting his computer. He's having problems. When a girl has no name.
That's her on YouTube.
Yep, she's on YouTube this time.
Yep.
And Leanne is on watching us. Leonard Davis.
Leonard, my bad.
Leonardo.
I
Leonard.
look like Leonardo.
Hey, he gets it on chip off the block. I'm the world's worst at pronouncing names, trust me.
The apple does not fall
At first
far
it
from
looked
the
like
tree.
Leonardo.
It kind of does. I can see where you can see that.
It's because I'm farther away.
You just have to put a O at the end.
Mother.
Huh?
My mom.
Your mom's on here?
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter's watching. She says, hey, Bubba and Papa. So my daughter Amber is watching. So Cameron says, Gage. So, all right, let's get to Ken. I just wanted to tell everybody thank you for watching out there. If you have questions about Total Boat, put them in the here where we can ask Ken about them. So go ahead and talk a little bit about how you got involved with Total Boat. And
Okay, so I think it was about almost 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know if you know Doug Moore over at Pole Barn Productions. I had been chatting with him a lot, asking him stuff about resin and all that, and I had gotten curious about what I could make with it and all that. And we started talking. And I said, if I had an idea for a bowl with resin in it, what should I do? And he said, go contact them. So, I had kicked it around with Leanne for about 2 or 3 months about whether I should contact him with my idea. So I asked them, I was like, hey, do you want to partner with me on a video? And then I sent them a picture of this bowl right here. Let's see if you guys can see that. And this is a Indian rosewood and aluminum honeycomb. And I sent them a drawing I did of this, and they came back, within like seconds of me sending them the pictures, they're like, yes, tell us what you need. And ever since then, they said, hey, after that one, they said, we like what you're doing. That's awesome. Can you come up with more stuff? I said, yeah, I think I can. So it just snowballed from there. And it's not a traditional sponsorship. I don't get paid by Total Boat. So it's a little bit different. They just send me some resin and I can do what I need to do. But they are fantastic there. And they listen to what we say. If we have an issue with resin or we have an idea about what they need to do for the resin, which I'll talk about this thing right here in back of me in just a little bit, and a suggestion that came from one of my viewers. It was pretty awesome. So, but they listen very well, and I don't know. I don't know how long the resin craze will last, where people like resin bowls and stuff. But I love them. I think they're beautiful. I've got a dozen of them sitting in my house. Well, a lot of them are sitting over here now. So
yeah, I saw that one you created, the last one you created, the skull bowl for Halloween.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'll grab that.
I love the glowing skull. That was really nice.
Hey, Russ.
That's this one right here.
Out in the chat, they want to know if you can make Ken full size.
Yes, I was fixing to do that.
Yeah. Right here is the skull bowl right here.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It looks cloudy, but on the video, I'm looking at the video right now, but it's not. It's pretty clear. I
Do they
actually,
glow? Do they glow in the dark, Ken?
they absolutely do. I don't know if
Yeah, I thought I saw that.
Huh?
Yes, they glow in the dark.
Yeah, I thought I saw that.
They glow in the dark. I use some of this aluminite phosphorescent powder.
Yeah.
And some red dye from Let's Resin. And I mixed them in. Like if you just set it out and underneath the LED lights in here, it really doesn't like attract the light. And then you go in there and it glows like crazy. You put light on it like a flashlight, just like a couple of turns around it, and then you bring it in there and it'll glow bright like at the end of the video that I did.
Cool. Now, we had talked earlier about, we had mentioned this before, Alumilite. I know Alumilite is one of the resin, or is the resin that Zach Higgins uses to pour all his and cast all his stuff. And you said you've used a little Alumilite. Can you kind of go into that just a little bit?
Yeah. When I was kicking around, I got a couple of bowls that I used before I used any total boat. And I used Alumilite clear, I guess it's called. And I don't know. Like I said, I've used it. I've used the Chinese knockoff resins, which I would suggest that no one ever use any of that knockoff Chinese resin. That stuff is noxious. It has an odor. The Alumilite doesn't really have much of an odor, and neither does the total boat. The only difference I saw in the Alumilite is that Alumilite is a lot more, total boat is a lot more forgiving of moisture.
That's so weird.
I do not stabilize my wood. If you're using stabilized wood, I'm told that Alumilite is great for it. I don't stabilize my wood. I dry mine in an oven, and then I cast it, and then I turn it. And I rarely have troubles.
Except when you don't put the hardener in.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up.
What's more?
For people that don't know, I did a bowl, and it's over here on the shelf. It's going to stay there for, I think, I don't know. It's actually starting to dry out, believe it or not. I put all these little like emerald or plastic emeralds in this bowl, and I dumped it in there, and then I put it in the pressure pot. The next day I get it out, and on the video you see me, I'm like, what the? I'm like, and it's still like really wet. So I go back and I look at all the video, and I'm looking, and I never put hardener in it. So it was nothing but the resin.
That's something like I would do. I mean, that's me right there.
Yeah, I would too.
I ended up taking out all the emeralds, and then I put hardener in it, and then I mixed it up. But the wood had already soaked in all the resin, and it didn't have hardener in it. But now it's starting to do it now. It'll end up hardening sooner or later. So
yeah, it'll just take forever.
Yeah, but I in no way am I saying that that Alumilite's not good, because I know a lot of my friends that use Alumilite. You know, they use it a lot. I just haven't had any luck with it. I've had a lot of cracks, a lot of. I mean, I've poured like a half inch or a quarter inch, and it cracked on me, and it most likely is operator error, because I know a lot of people that use it and use it successfully.
Right. But you have to realize when Zach uses it, Zach lives out, if I'm not mistaken, out in Nevada. So he's in a very dry climate. So he don't have to worry about moisture.
And he does a lot of stabilizing. He stabilizes everything.
Yeah. He stabilizes everything on top of that. Yeah. So
I just watched a video of stabilizing coffee beans, because I'm going to be doing a video with some coffee beans pretty soon. But here's what happens if you don't use stabilized wood. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. You see where it's separating?
Yes.
This wood wasn't stabilized, and it was a little bit too wet at the time that I put it in here. I didn't when I did this casting a year and a half ago. I didn't have a moisture meter, and it was a little bit too moist. But I'll recast that little portion of it, and I'll turn it, and
Can you patch that then with resin and go from there?
What I can do is I can put some hot glue. I'm sorry, here. I can put some hot glue around there and just put resin in there, and it'll seep in. If I use they have different resins. Total Boat has, I don't know, I'd say at least half a dozen of different types of resin. And then and inside each resin, they have medium and slow cure. The fast ones, it cures up within an hour or so. Slow, it takes 4 hours, depending on what you're doing. But they also have this stuff right here. This is called Thick Set. Okay. This is just like every other resin. I don't know if you can hear. It's thick. It's really thick. What the difference is they have this is the hardening agent right here, the Thick Set. Listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like water. Okay. Normally it'd be a lot thicker. It's like water. It's really, really thin. And what it does is it dilutes down the resin, and the resin takes 3 or 4 days to cure.
Wow.
But it also lets all the bubbles come up out of there. So this little crack right here, if you put regular resin in it, the bubbles could get trapped down in there or an air pocket. If you use the Thick Set, it'll seep into there, and it won't let the bubbles stay in there. They'll come up to the bottom.
No, that's
or
cool.
come up to the bottom. So that's how I would do it.
When a girl has no name has a question, and I have the same question, is discuss what you use for you said you dry your wood out in an oven. Discuss that. Do you use a regular household oven, or what do you use?
Hey, Russ,
sure
Jim
do.
wants back in.
Okay, so I cut this 3 or 4 days ago. This is a piece of oak right here. You see it? And I cut this to fit a small bowl, which is right over here. I tried to place these within it. So I'll take this bowl right here. So this will fit in here. But before I cast it, I take it over to my oven. And Leanne loves me for this. Trust me, she's all about this. All right. I take like 5 or 6 of these, are the bigger ones for the bigger bowls. And I stick them on our cookie sheet on top of some tinfoil. I stick them in the oven at 220 degrees, and I leave them in there. And I turn the oven on for 12 hours, and then I turn it off when I go to sleep. Then when I get up, I'll turn it on for 12 hours, and I'll do that for a week. And then I'll take it out in my shop, and I'll let it sit in my shop for a week, and then I'll test it. And 9 out of 10 times, I'm below 10% on my humidity.
It's just a regular household oven. Is it electric or gas?
No, we have gas oven, but an electric oven will do the same thing.
Right.
It's even like, let's say you're going to stabilize some wood. You're going to do the same thing. You put your wood in an oven for 24 hours at 220, because I can't remember. I think 212 is boiling for water.
Yes,
trying to
212 boils water.
So I put it at 220.
Right.
If you put this at 320 or 350, your moisture meter won't work on it anymore for some reason. And I don't know why. I've got 2 more. I ended up buying a new moisture meter because I thought I broke it because it stopped reading the wood because I was trying to dry it out too fast. If anybody knows why, you just let me know. I don't know if it changes the molecular subatomicness of it or what. So maybe.
Yeah, well, I did the same thing in a little bit different form. I had some pen blanks, wood, and I turned them into pen blanks, and I wanted to cut them, and I didn't want to wait, So I have a little toaster oven that's mine that I use in my shop, and I put it on 225 and shoved those pen blanks in them and left them for all day long at 225 degrees. Don't do that. at the end of the day, turned it off, checked them the next day, and let them sit all night long, in other words, and cool down. I checked them the next day with my moisture meter, and they were less than 10%. But now we're talking about thin blanks. We're not talking about big chunks of wood.
Yeah, I have tried it just to do it for like a couple hour, like a 24-hour period. And as you know, wood dries an inch per year. So
Right.
you're kind of making your oven into a kiln, you know?
Right.
And it's going to dry it a little bit faster, but the thicker the wood, the longer it takes. And then you have to let it sit and equalize once you take it out of the oven. You can't just take it out and the next day put it in something and cast it. You're going to crack your casting that way.
Yeah.
What exactly is stabilizing wood?
You don't understand what stabilizing wood is.
Well, they have different ways of stabilizing wood. Most of the people use something called cactus juice, which I've got some around here because I just got a stabilizer or a vacuum. Yeah, here it is. I'm sorry. There we go. A lot of people will use cactus juice, which you use with a vacuum. And what it does is it draws this juice into, it's a resin, it's a modified resin, and it draws it into the wood. And then you put it in the oven, you bake it, and it gets really hard. So,
So stabilizing wood is basically making it a lot harder than it used to be.
Making it harder so it doesn't move as much.
Right.
Because you got to realize wood moves depending on the weather and the time of year and how cold it is or hot it is. Resin doesn't. Resin stays still, so the wood will start doing this and it'll crack.
Does it
see that pot up there with the little red thing on it? That is a vacuum chamber.
So you stabilize the wood to make sure it doesn't crack?
Yeah, well, you stabilize the wood to make sure the wood doesn't move as much so the resin doesn't crack. Yeah.
When you're stabilizing, does it seal it to where the moisture doesn't leave the wood or be absorbed? Is that what you're sealing? How does it make it hard?
Well, like I said, I don't stabilize. I just got this to do some stuff. But from what I understand, all the research I've done and talking to all the guys that do stabilize, it does basically, what it does is it firms up the fibers in the wood. It doesn't like seal the wood as much as it firms up those fibers and causes them to get hard.
Right. And Al, your question is the wood should be already dry before you stabilize it. Okay. But let's say, you know what we would call a piece of wood is, where it's kind of like very soft, kind of like it's sit too long. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can put it in the vacuum chamber and put that cactus juice in it and stabilize it, and it'll actually make that wood hard so you can use it.
Gotcha.
All right. Anybody that's seen any of my videos has seen this blue one. Okay. This is the bane of my existence. And I say that because the wood was incredibly punky. And I should have stabilized it. And it would have been a lot easier to turn this. So what I ended up doing is, first of all, you can see where it cracked in there because even punky wood can be wet. What I ended up doing is I took 50%, a 50-50 mix of acetone and 2-to-1 resin, and I mixed them together, and I soaked this bowl in it. And I soaked it until the resin got hard. And it stabilized the wood. And now I've got a really smooth finish on it. I just need to patch that hole, and then I can fix where it pulled out. So...
Yeah, and Oxyman says it's for rotten wood. That's what we call pithy, is rotten wood. Wood that has actually started to decay, and it gets kind of soft and breaks down, and the stabilizing the cactus juice will actually repair that and make it where you can use it, like turn it. Especially if you've got like a beautiful piece of babinga or, zebra wood or something like that, and you go like, crap, I let it sit too long, and now I can't use it. Well, you can stabilize it and use it.
And I remember Aussie Man said that he dries his in kitty litter crystals.
Yes. Yes, you can. A lot of people dry their the wood in kitty litter, but now, like Ken said, that takes a long time, even when you're using kitty litter.
Yeah,
And that makes
a
sense.
while back. Huh?
That makes sense if the wood has to be dry because it would extract the
Yeah, it'll pull it out.
moisture out of it. Yeah.
But instead of taking, like, let's say a year to dry it normally with kitty litter, it might take it 8 months. See what I'm saying? It takes us less time, but it doesn't enhance it like sticking in an oven like Ken's doing.
So could you put your wood in rice maybe?
Yes, you can use rice.
Yep. Yeah. See, I did an experiment. I'd never used the kitty litter. I've always either air dried my bowls or I've put them into their own shavings in a paper bag or in a big box. And
What about the shavings?
about a year back, I did an experiment at the end of it. I had this big 17.5-inch bowl that I did, a white oak bowl, and I put it in kitty litter just to see if it would dry faster than shavings. It did not dry faster than shavings. It stayed round a little bit better than the shavings did because it didn't dry wonky, I guess. But I didn't see much of a difference between the kitty litter and the shaving.
But you cut it wet, right? And then you put it in the bag.
Yep, I did.
Now, Ken, you use the relatively fast drying resin, right?
I use it all depends on what I'm doing.
What I've used is
That's the maker epoxy.
yeah, and it takes about 24 hours to get hard.
Okay.
And this is, remember I was telling you about the dye I used?
Yep.
It doesn't have a label on it, but this is the stuff I got from them.
That would probably
And
be
I
the
just-
mix all.
Yeah, and I just put about 3 drops in here in my mix, and it makes it nice and black like that. And it worked perfect. I mean, it's great stuff. If I can, like I said, if I can do it without messing it up, anybody can do it.
Now there's many different things in when you're talking about resin. You have a time that'll get hard. Okay. About 4 hours ago, my granddaughter did this ornament right here. Okay, she did this ornament, which is pretty cool. You know, you got a 10-year-old playing with resin and dyes. So okay, enough doting on her. But about 4 hours ago, she did that. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard, okay? It is not cured, okay? It takes, in my opinion, it takes 24 hours for any resin like this to cure. This is the 2-to-1, okay? The maker's epoxy, did it get hard or did it in 24 hours or was that its cure time?
No, it took 24 hours. Well, it took about 18 hours to get hard.
Okay.
And probably, I would say it took it another 10 hours to cure, probably.
Okay. Yeah, and that's probably right. They have this 5-to-1, which is a tabletop resin that just anybody knows if you want a cheaper resin to test out for turning and casting, get the 5-to-1. It's only like $60-some a gallon. You can buy quartz, by the way. They have quartz and they have other sizes too. It takes the same as the 2-to-1. It'll be hard within about 4 hours. And then I usually leave mine in there at least 8 hours for it to cure. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer to cure. But the quickest I've ever turned after casting something is 8 hours. Now, thick set here, which is this stuff right here, it doesn't even harden up for 2 days. So
See, the only thing I cared about on this is like I would pour one side. Well, I can't do anything else with it until it hardens up. And I don't care if it's cured or not. It's just hard so that I can turn it over and pour it someplace else without this dripping out.
Yeah. Their maker epoxy is fairly new. Okay. And that's Jessie Crow. They have her. She's the spokeswoman for this stuff. And I've used it this much, not much. So I can't really speak to this. But I do. You see, I do have it. I've got the 2 little ones. They do have bigger ones, guys. So.
Real quick, This is a my vacuum chamber, my vacuum pot. It's just like a stainless steel pot, and it has a plastic or acrylic type lid. That's about 3/4 of an inch thick. It's clear where you can see inside of it with a pressure gauge. So that's what I use for when I want to stabilize wood. Basically, it just sits right on top. Once you pull the vacuum, there is a seal around the top of the pot that will draw this acrylic top down on top of it, and it doesn't leak. It'll hold a vacuum for 24 hours easy without dropping any. I don't want to say pressure because it's not pressure, without dropping any vacuum. So this is what I use with the cactus juice to stabilize punky wood, piffy wood, whichever one you want to call it, potato. Real quick, Patrick's workshop has joined us.
Kilroy.
That's Al.
Oh.
Yeah. But Patrick's workshop has joined us. Good to see you out there, Patrick.
I saw somebody else.
When a girl has no name.
Lady Frenzy, Wicked Truth.
Lady Frenzy, Wicked Truth. All those people are out there. So good. But my battery is running low.
Do you want me to plug it in?
Hey,
I'll have to find it here.
Aussie Man wants to know which is better, the fast cure or the slow.
Okay. I was talking about, they have inside like a 2-to-1, they have fast, medium, and slow. If you're going to be casting bowls, use the slow. If you use the fast, sometimes, most of the time, it'll cure too fast, and all the bubbles
It's too heavy. It takes everything I can do.
I can show you. I used slow on this one. I used slow on this one, but and I'm gonna turn this around in a second. You're gonna see the issue I have. When you're pouring it, you pour the slow. Even with the slow, you need to pour it slowly into your casting, and here's why. I poured this very fast, and I don't know if you can see this very well up there, but there's a void all the way around.
The air gets trapped in it, does it? The air gets trapped in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, air gets trapped in it, and you can see it was all the way over to here. Okay.
And that was in a vacuum chamber too?
No, this isn't
Okay.
a pressure pot. I
Got
only
it.
use pots.
Yeah, you don't use a vacuum chamber on resins. You use a pressure pot.
Okay.
Well, let me talk about that in a second. I'll talk to you about that in a second.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it, and some people have, but the pressure pot, I mean, everything I've ever heard, the pressure pot's supposed to work better.
The pressure pot, there's the difference between a vacuum and a pressure pot. The vacuum draws air out of your casting. Okay. It's trying to replace all the air in there with that resin. So it's pulling all the air out.
Yeah, don't warn
A pressure pot takes your air and pushes it down and pushes on it until they're little tiny itty bitty bubble. Yeah, you'll see air coming up. It'll look like your resin's boiling inside your pot. But what it's doing is it's pushing the air into the smallest bubble it can. Okay?
Making those micro bubbles.
Yes, the micro bubbles, and that's what it's trying to do. The ones that you can't see, and it's pushing in there, so you'll get air trapped in there like I just showed you. So you got to be careful, and you got to pour it, let it go down, and underneath your casting. And that was the problem with this one. I had a space I think it was about 1/8 of an inch thick underneath my casting in the bowl. And because I use these things, and my bowl doesn't go all the way down. My wood never goes all the way down underneath here because there's this little lip here. Okay, and so that resin that was right here at one point decided, hey, we'll go up underneath there, and you'll see all the resin underneath there. That's a wood blank right there. So all the resin kind of just pops, and all of a sudden it'll start leaking underneath your thing. So you got to make sure that you don't have any air underneath there where it can do it. Here, let me show it again.
Hold that up again. Yeah.
What pressures are you using, Ken?
I try to keep it right around 60 psi.
So do you do anything with your air compressor, like have a dryer on it or anything like that when you?
Nope, I don't. You can actually see my I think, yeah, you can see it right here. I do have valves on mine. By the way, if you ever do a workshop, putting lines inside your wall, best thing ever. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I've got little release valves that'll release any moisture there. I do have plans on putting a one of those moisture controls on my my compressor because I leave it running all the time.
Yeah, you need one of those if you're going to run it all the time.
Here's a good example of moving wood.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
got a
there
little
you
crack
go.
there, didn't you?
Yep.
Fill it with some total boat.
Aussie Man had asked what pump did I use. I use a 2-stage vacuum pump I bought from Harbor Freight. It's basically used for air conditioning, for drawing down systems to add Freon to it. So that's what I use, and it works perfectly. And they're only like at Harbor, they're like $300 and something if you buy them anywhere. You can usually buy them at Harbor Freight when they're on their sale for like $149. So that's what I use.
So what was while I was screwing around with my computer, what's the consensus, vacuum or pressure?
For what?
I like pressure pot.
If you're going, most of the people that will tell you, including Zach Higgins, it will from NV Woodworks will tell you it for resins it's pressure.
Okay.
I think so.
Is
What
anybody
happens
out there?
if you use a vacuum, the resin starts bubbling like crazy, and you have to sit there and babysit it so it doesn't overflow.
Right.
Okay. Has anybody, even in the chat, bought one of those pressure things from Harbor Freight, or I think it's like actually a paint sprayer, and then they modify it?
Yeah,
The reviews were pretty good.
That's what
Yeah,
I
it
have.
probably looks just like that, Ken.
I have one exactly like that sitting right up there on the shelf, don't I, Gage?
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these.
But now, from my mistake, doesn't the Harbor Freight one only take like 40 pounds of pressure?
No, it is rated to 60. I use 50 in it.
Okay, I thought it was 40 for some reason.
Matter of fact, I take that back because this one I've got right here that I cast today, about 4 hours ago, is at 55 or almost 60. So,
okay.
But hey, you're talking about when I got married and all that, and I'm going to tell you, this is how great these people over at Total Boat are. Not only do whenever I come on shows like this, if they know about it ahead of time, that they'll be like, "Hey, let's do a giveaway" and stuff like that. They're very good to me. And when they found out I got married and I had seen this and I'd made a comment on Instagram, I was like, I've got to get one of those. Next thing I know, they are here. I'm gonna show you. Let me move this stuff right here. I'm gonna bring it up front here so you guys can see it. Next thing I know, I'm getting one of these in the mail. Can you see that? This thing looks ridiculous, but I have a lot of trouble when I am mixing resin. Anybody that's watched my channel knows that I have an unbelievable amount of trouble mixing resin. And this has helped me out. Now, it's a simple little thing. All it is a pump for 2-to-1 resin. So I put a gallon of resin in here, a half a gallon of hardener, and I pump this. And it's this easy. Well, I don't want to do that one.
That almost looks like cheating, Ken.
It is. I love it.
Yeah.
But
Or maybe you're mixing a margarita or something.
yeah, I'll tell you. So you just pump the hooks down like that, and you pump it, and you've got the perfect mix. And all you do is mix it up, and you can put it in your casting. I love it.
Are most of them 2-to-1?
No, they have a lot of them. They have the 2-to-1. They have thick set. They have 5-to-1, which is the tabletop. They've got the clear. Like I said, they've got a lot of different resins. For turning, I would use either thick set, 2-to-1, or 5-to-1, or even the maker's epoxy. Okay, I've done a few castings with the maker epoxy, and it is really good. It's a 1-to-1. personally like the 2-to-1 the best. If I do a bowl, 9 out of 10 times it's 2-to-1. Slow.
There's a couple of things out there in the chat. I just want to make sure this is people understand that the Harbor Freight pressure pot is actually a paint spraying pot.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's for adding paint into it and then hooking the compressor up to it, and it will force the paint out of there into your gun. And it's to take the place of a quart spray can or a quart spray gun if you're going to do a lot of spraying. Like if you're going to do a bunch of cabinets or whatever. Matter of fact, that's they would use it in a cabinet shot to shoot the lacquer on the cabinets and stuff. So that's all it is. And you just modify it to make it a pressure pot. You just add a few things to it. And first thing I added to it was I got rid of the Harbor Freight gauge because I didn't trust that, and bought me I've spent like $30 on a very accurate gauge to put on it so I wouldn't blow myself up.
Almost as much as the pot.
Yeah, because I mean I don't trust their gauges. They're very cheap gauges, and some people might use them and trust them, but when I'm putting 50 pounds into a pressure pot like that, I want to make sure it's 50 pounds.
And I have to agree with you to an extent. This one is actually theirs, and I use it on this one and another one. And the only reason is because if you use their gauge, you only have to buy 3 other fittings if you use their gauge, because you can take their stuff for the pressure pot, all the stuff they send you. You can take that all apart and use those pieces. So
I just don't trust their gauges.
A reducer. I bought a reducer. I bought this piece right here, which is the ball valve, and then I think I bought this also because theirs is crappy. They're a little
really.
But one thing, if you do buy a Harbor Freight, and I hear it all the time, people get a hold of me on Facebook and YouTube and all this, and they say mine leaks. Well. It's because the seals absolutely suck in these things, okay? So if you're going to do it, what I do is I take a brand new one, I take the seal out, and I take it and I put Vaseline all over it. Don't ask me where I get the Vaseline from, but I got Vaseline. I put it all over that seal. And then I put it back in, and it swells the seal, and I never have a problem with leaking.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But so the other day, me and Leanne were talking, and I'm trying to get bigger bowls and do bigger bowls. And I went out and got a new one, treated myself with my business up. So I got this bad boy right here.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's got wheels on it.
Yeah.
It's got wheels. That's because it's so heavy. Holy crap.
It looks like a riot shield.
But that's a California 5-gallon one right there. So
yeah.
Now, how much bigger around is that than the Harbor Freight one?
How much what?
Bigger around is it than the Harbor Freight one?
The Harbor Freight one, I can fit a 9-inch bowl in. That one, I can fit a 12-inch in, and maybe a little bit more. I think it's 14 or 15 inches across. I don't have a ruler on me. I haven't really checked it.
Well, how big on your lathe? How big can you run on your lathe?
18 inches.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it like this one right here. This one originally in that pot, I still had more room, and I think it was 13 inches. It's 12 inches across right now, but it was 13 or 14 inches. So.
Donna said she modified a paint sprayer pot, and she never got to use it, and she's now thinking about selling her turning stuff.
Oh, Donna. You know, another thing that Total Boat makes that's really good is this stuff.
Is that the varnish?
That's the varnish.
Yes.
And I use this in a HVLP sprayer on a sign that I made. And boy, is that stuff nice to work with. It's just great.
Nice.
It goes on.
I got a couple of those right over here.
Yeah, this is really nice stuff.
Austin Man asked how much does the resin you use cost?
Resin.
Resin.
Okay. The resin, unless I buy extra, because I do a lot more turning than I do that's just on my videos. That's one video a week. I do sometimes 5 to 8 bowls a week. So, and it all depends on the week. But a gallon of that resin here, I don't want to lie to you. So we're gonna look at it, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. Okay, so if you're gonna get the 2 to 1, you can look at paying right around. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. It's a little over $100. No, I'm sorry, it's about $160. I actually have a coupon that anybody in the chat is more than welcome to use, and it is Moon Pie 15. Okay, it is a one-time use coupon. They've changed the way they do things, but if you come back to me, I most probably could talk to them and get you another coupon.
One word, Moon Pie 15.
Moon Pie 15. That'll get you 15% off on anything you buy.
Moon Pie 15.
So the gallon of the resin is 160, but how about you have to have the hardener? How much is it?
That comes with it. That's a set.
Okay, so it's a gallon of resin with the hardener for 160.
Yes. You can buy the tabletop epoxy. It's like $120. Or you can get or the 5 to 1. The 5 to 1, you can get a gallon, and I think it is about 100 and hold on. Let me look. I'll tell you in a second. It's about $120 also. So if you're going to use one of the cheaper resins, like the 5 to 1 or the tabletop epoxy, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. Okay, I use the 2 to 1. It's about $160 a gallon. But when you sell your items, I notice this all the time. People that are they turn these beautiful bowls. And then they take this beautiful bowl that used $60 worth of epoxy or resin, and then they sell it for $30 on Etsy. That's not sustainable. It's just not.
Yeah.
You find ways to use less resin, okay? i.e., put fillers in your resin, Yeah. That now the only resin I've got in here that's except for the wood that's on the side of the wood, it's right around here, and I use less resin that way.
Right. I mean, since you've been doing the resin thing with the wood, it is really. I was like, wow, I hadn't. Now Zach doesn't do that quite as much as what you're doing, and I really like the way that you. Yeah, I like the way that you add the big chunks of wood and make a bowl out of it with the resin. I was like, wow, that actually looks sharp. So yeah, I really like that. Yeah,
but you got to find ways to save it, and if you do end up wanting to make something and sell it, price it accordingly. I mean, you're paying money to make this plus your time. You can't take a bowl that's costing you $100 in time and product
material,
and charging $30. We all know that. I take when I gauge a bowl and what it's cost me, I take what it cost me for my products and then I times it times 3. I do the times 3 for my workmanship that I do. So
Ken, where do you sell your bowls at mostly?
Off of my website, moonpiecreations.com. I have a shop there. I used to do it on Etsy, but again, I'll say you got people selling bowls on Etsy for $30, and
you pop a bowl in there for $80, and they go, "Are you crazy?"
Exactly. Yeah, but 90% of my bowls are commissioned. People are contacting me to make them. So I do have bowls up on, like, if you see me make a bowl and I don't say the customer in my video, it's normally just me wanting to experiment and try things. Like this. I experimented and tried this a while back. Those are car fuses. And it looks like confetti. And I just tried it, and I got it up on my website. But when you make something that somebody doesn't order, it's harder to sell. You can't charge as much, so it sits there a little while.
A while back, somebody wanted to know what the weirdest thing you ever cast was.
The weirdest.
That's a good question.
Well, I don't know if it's weird to anybody else, but it was kind of weird to me. Popcorn.
That's cool.
That's a popcorn bowl, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
That is actually cool as crap.
You need to use popcorn with that.
That's a lot of resin, though, right?
It was, but I had gotten a hold of Total Boat, and I talked to them about doing it. I actually did 2 of those castings. I don't even know where the other one is. It's around the shop. I have not turned it because I'm going to do something different for that when I turn it.
How thin can you go with that, Ken? I noticed that was one of
I tried. I can't.
I usually leave it about 1/4 of an inch thick. You can see it on this bowl right here.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I usually do 1/4 of an inch thick. It all depends on the bowl. Here's one that the video will be out probably in a couple of weeks. Hold on. Let me see if I can get you to focus in on that. There we go. This is I started this on a live stream. I cast it on a live stream, and what that is black resin and copper leaf paper.
Oh, cool. Looks nice.
And it's got a lot thinner. It's a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch. Right.
So
there.
you're saying 1/4 of an inch has been the best thing to work for you. So if you tried to go, have you tried to go thinner?
I have. I actually have. I did. I don't know if you haven't seen my Saturn bowl that I just did last week.
Yeah.
That lip on there was 1/8 of an inch thick.
And it didn't have any problems?
Didn't have any problems yet.
Yeah.
I don't like going too thin because I'm afraid it's going to warp and then when you're going that thin with resin, even when it hardens, it flexes on that lathe. It flexes big time. That bowl that I just did, that lip, it was like a buzzsaw looking at me, as I was going, and it was flexing in and out as I was doing it. And you can, if you rub your hand across it, you can feel it. You can feel where it flexed. So I like to keep it 1/4 of an inch thick if I can.
My son said you ought to do a bowl with M&Ms or Skittles.
That would, Skittles probably would work better. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
it probably would.
Yeah, I don't think
resin
M&Ms
would that resin heat that up and melt it all?
I'm sorry.
I said I don't think M&Ms would hold up. I think the M&Ms would melt in the resin.
Yeah.
Because that resin heats up a little, right?
Yeah.
Well, it does. It'll get to about 110 degrees, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that would melt.
I was testing my resin today because I was trying to do a pour, and I was talking to Kevin Carpenter. He's got a YouTube channel. If you guys can go check him out, just type in Kevin Carpenter. And he does a lot of casting stuff, and he uses Alumilite. And he saw me doing a casting of that Saturn bowl, and it all kind of blended together, had a little bit of white. And he's like, you did it wrong. You got to wait until it's 110 degrees. So I took this thermometer. This is the head thermometer, by the way. And I was sitting there doing the resin with that, and I'm like, it's not working. It's not working. And then all of a sudden, I did it, and it said 106 degrees. So it heated up pretty quickly, but it never got over 106 degrees as I was doing this. So, but if you mix it wrong, it definitely can get very, very, very hot. And here's what happens when it gets very, very hot. This was in a plastic cylinder, and you can see it's warped right there. I don't know if you can see that. And it's cracked in here, and it's all cracked inside there. That's what will happen to your wood. It'll crack. And if your wood's too moist, your resin will crack, and you'll be like, I don't understand why it cracked. Because your wood's too moist, or it got heated up too much. You put too much hardener in it, or too little hardener in it. That's why I love this thing right here.
Patrick says you might need to clear coat the candy with like clear spray paint, or I was thinking lacquer, to keep the candy coatings from bleeding.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Austin's asking if too much hardener makes heat, but I think it's the process that makes the heat. Well,
It is the chemical process that makes the heat, but if you
Right.
put too much hardener in it, it can cause heat. You put too little in, it can cause heat. That's why they recommend that you do it. Like when we're talking about the 2-to-1, you saw in a lot of my videos, I measure it out, or I weigh it out. I don't measure it. And the reason I don't measure it,
yes.
Yeah, I did.
let me see. There's a guy on YouTube that buys the generic cups from like Home Depot or something like that, or wherever they get it. I use the ones that come from Total Boat, and I did an experiment and I looked at 100 of these cups. Okay, they are all exactly alike. He did one for the Home Depot or Lowe's cups that you can buy there, or Woodcraft or whatever. And all of these lines were different heights. So that tells me that they're not the same, right? But I measure mine out. I went to the Total Boat website and I got the data sheet, and it tells you the weight to do. So if you're using grams, measuring out the 2-to-1, you're going to use 100 grams of resin to 45 grams of hardener. If you're using the thick set, it's 100 grams of resin to 28 grams of hardener. So it's a little bit different. It's not actually 3-to-1 for the thick set, and it's not actually 2-to-1 for the 2-to-1. It's because their volume's different, or their volume is different than their weight, if that makes sense.
Right. It does.
That's one thing that kind of impressed me when I bought that varnish, is they sent me 2 of those mixing cups and a stir stick and brushes and filters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
They sent me everything.
Yeah, I got this sent to me. I put a video out Monday. It was just a fun Halloween one. These are tea light holders. This little mold, and I had a ball with it. I made so many. Let me see.
Yeah, the Halloween dealies. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Halloween theme. I made like these googly eyes. I put them in there. This one's spiders in there. I had a really good time with it, and I used 2-to-1, and I pulled them out every 4 hours, and I put whatever I could find in it. I had like these little sequences I put in there for Halloween. I put some of that copper leaf in there. I mean, I put little bats in there. I don't know if you can see the little bats taken off there. I put little bats in there.
Did they fight when you were
The sequence looked like candy corn for a second.
Yeah.
Somebody said I should have done a candy corn bowl. Well, Halloween's not over, and I'm working on one right now that's in here. That matter of fact, I can take it out if we want to see if it's see what it looks like so far.
But candy corn melts, doesn't it?
Sure. Go
Yes,
for it.
Candy corn
Go
does.
for it.
If you put,
Oh boy, what was that?
that was my but candy corn will melt, and it doesn't turn very well. That's like putting candy inside the bowl. If you're going to turn the candy, I leave that kind of stuff to Peter Brown. That guy's great.
To the pros, right, Ken? But that's really good, man. You've done some really
Mom
good
to
stuff.
text us when she's here.
Now, I just started that.
Or text you when
You said you started doing this when you were like in high school or something like that, and you've been doing it.
I started turning when I was in high school. I think I was about 15 years old, and I turned a piece of pine into a candy dish. And that was my first thing. And my dad, and it was the most, I put pictures up on Facebook, most horrible thing ever. I mean, I took my faceplate and I screwed it to the bottom of it and I did everything out and just unscrewed it and put in wood filler. But my dad loved this thing. He kept it. And when he passed away in January, I was at the house and it's sitting up on his desk and I took it home. Now it sits up on my desk. You know, you know, everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. And I got people going, oh, well, I can't believe this. This sucks. This is my first time. No, it's not. It doesn't suck. Everybody starts somewhere. That's where you start learning your craft. It's where you learn to ride the bevel on the wood to get a better cut. You know, people hammer people because they use carbides. Nothing wrong with carbides. They have their uses. I use both. You know, so never down your own work. It's just, you know, try to improve on it if you know something's wrong. So
we got a question because we're fixing to have to close out here. It's almost 9 o'clock. It is 9 o'clock.
How time flies when you're having fun.
Yep. What kind of casting containers do you normally use?
Bowls.
Just
a little. Yeah, I've got a bunch of them sitting up here. I go to Dollar Tree. I find big ones. I find small ones, and that's what I cast my bowls in.
Plastic bowls, in other words.
Plastic bowls. Just remember that they have to be a certain type of plastic. You can't use like number 5 plastic or recyclable plastic, number 6. You got to use number 2. So
okay. Now,
do you spray a release agent in there?
Do you use any kind of release agent on the bowls?
I do. This is what I usually use. Sometimes I forget, and you'll see in my video I'm beating the hell out of it with a hammer. That's because I forgot to put this on there right here. So this is the Stoner urethane mold release.
Yeah, that's just about right.
Yeah.
You don't have to use that though. You can use WD-40. You can use the T9 that you get from Woodcraft. It's a little bit more expensive to use that T9, but you can use WD-40. It's not going to hurt it as long as you're okay with it, you know.
Can you use silicone?
I wouldn't see why not. I mean, you're using a silicone spray. All it's doing is creating a film. I got a buddy who swears by using Pam. He goes and gets that.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And he uses that. So
cool.
Very cool.
But it has to be though number 2 plastic.
Well, number 2 plastic is what you use for resin. It won't stick to it at all.
My point, how do you know it's number 2? Does it say it on the bowl?
Yeah, on the bottom.
On the bottom of a bowl, it usually has like a little triangle.
Yeah.
A little triangle. I don't know. You ain't gonna be able to see that because I can barely see it.
Yeah, you
It
can't.
has a little triangle on it, and inside there it has a number.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a 4, a 6, or a 2. It usually says I usually use 2. Any container that says 2 can be used.
Everything that's made out of plastic has got that little symbol up underneath it.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff is food grade, like number 2.
Yep.
Cool.
Now I take it back. I do use HDPE sometimes, and sometimes I use some of that. Oh man, I don't know where it's at. I use some of that plastic cardboard, the corrugated plastic cardboard. I'll use that. I used that when I made this flag bowl right here.
You just want something that's going to take the heat from the reaction, right?
Yep, exactly. And be able to take it off. That plastic stuff, that plastic corrugated cardboard didn't come off so well. I had to use my planer on it. So
Austin Man says, can you just turn the bowl off the casting if it's stuck? Yeah, you could.
Probably.
Good question.
Yeah, you could. But just beware if a big chunk comes flying off of the plastic.
yeah, I have a video where that plastic corrugated cardboard stuck to the casting, and I just turned it off. And we see it flying everywhere. Make sure you wear your safety gear. I get heat for that all the time. People are like, "Oh, I can't believe you casted pennies in resin." Well, I casted pennies in resin, and everybody freaks out in the world. And but you know what? I had safety glasses on.
Yep.
I had a shield on. I had a jacket on. I did not have long sleeves on because I don't believe in long sleeves when you're around the lathe.
Yeah.
Nope.
One of my most popular videos, though, so I'm okay with it.
All right, guys, it is 9 o'clock. Gage's mother is here to pick him up, so we need to call this one a night. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Ken. A lot of great information there.
That was fun.
Yeah,
Good seeing you again, Ken.
Appreciate you having me on here.
yeah, huh?
I appreciate you having me on. I do.
You know, but I've been looking forward to this because, like I said, I want to try to get into this myself, and I was thinking about Total Boat since you've been having a lot. It seems like you've had a lot of success with it because I have heard a lot of people with the Lumelite having some nightmares with it. So, but thank you very much for being with us. Cameron, my son said you're a wealth of knowledge. So yeah, thank you again, Ken. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Dixon, Chris, and Jim for being on here tonight. I hope everybody learned something. I know I did, especially about the number 2 plastic. I would have went out and bought anything and put it in. So I'm glad that
I was already thinking about all the plastic bowls we have.
Yeah,
I could use.
if my I ain't gonna say if bowls go missing, I know my wife's gonna be.
Hey, Russ, just so you know.
Go ahead.
Originally, I had no clue what the stuff is, so I know I've learned a bunch.
He learned a bunch. He had no idea. So yeah, he didn't even know about
our number 2, just so you know.
Yeah. I'll have to get him out there on the lathe. He's never turned anything, but he's getting to the age now I would be comfortable having him turn something because when he was getting pretty good size now.
And I've scroll sawed a whole bunch.
He's scroll sawed a bunch. So, but anyway, thank everybody. Thank you all out there in the chat. I appreciate it. Leonard Davis, Michelle Marcoux, Aussie Man,
Rick St. Louis.
Thumbs up,
Ken's wife's been out there. Donna's Wood Art, Patrick's Workshop, Portal Woodworks.
My mom
goes on and on. Yep. My daughter Amber, his mother. So thank you all very much. Steve Combs is out there, but thank you all for being out there in the chat and all your wonderful questions. If you're too darn busy to get out in your shop and make some sawdust, you're just too darn busy. Just give me sawdust, lots of sawdust all around me and everywhere. I like it flying all around my shop and even in my beard and hair. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, boys and girls.
Good night, everyone.
God bless.
Good night.
Remember, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
What
No,
Chris
you can't stay here.
Gage, you can't stay here either. You got to go home.
See ya.